If you're planting tomatoes this April, stop. Before you put a single plant in the ground, there are 3 things that need to go into that hole first. Most gardeners skip this completely, and it's exactly why their tomatoes look decent in June and disappointing in August. I've been growing tomatoes in Zone 7 for 11 years. I tested this exact method last season against my neighbor. Same variety, same soil, same watering schedule. His plants were fine. Mine produced 40% more fruit by mid-July. The only difference was what I put in the planting hole. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what those 3 ingredients are, why each one matters, and the one mistake that cancels all of it out, even if you do everything else right. Everything costs under $5, and you can grab it all at Walmart. Let's get into it. Here's something nobody tells you about tomatoes. By the time your plant is in the ground, it's already too late to fix what's missing underneath. When a tomato plant goes into the ground in April, it does one thing first. It reaches down for food, not water. Food. Specifically, it's hunting for 3 things: phosphorus to build roots, calcium to hold its fruit, and magnesium to run photosynthesis. If those things aren't already sitting right there in the hole, the plant spends the next 3 weeks going nowhere, just struggling underground while it looks fine above the surface. You know that black rotten spot on the bottom of tomatoes that shows up right when they're almost ready? That's called blossom end rot. And most people think it's a watering problem. It's not. It's a calcium problem. And by the time you see it on the fruit, baz, your plant ran out of calcium 6 weeks ago, back when it was still in the ground. That's the window we're talking about. That's why April matters. So the fix is simple, but it has to happen before the plant goes in. 3 ingredients in the hole. Right now, in April, I'll show you exactly what they are and how much to use. But first, let me tell you what not to do, because one of these common mistakes will undo everything. Here's the mistake I see every single spring. Someone grabs a box of Miracle-Gro, throws it in the hole, and thinks they're done. I get it. The bag says tomatoes. It's at every garden center. It feels like the right move. But here's the problem. Miracle-Gro is mostly nitrogen, and nitrogen in April tells your plant to grow leaves, not roots, not fruit. You'll get a beautiful green plant that produces almost nothing by August. I've seen it happen to the same people 3 years in a row. They keep buying the same bag, wondering why their tomatoes disappoint them. The second mistake is about timing, and it's just as costly. If your soil is still cold, below 60 degrees Fahrenheit, nothing you put in that hole is going to work. Roots don't absorb nutrients from cold soil. It's not that the food isn't there, it's that the plant physically can't take it in. It's like leaving a meal outside for someone who's asleep. They're not going to eat it. Quick test. Push 2 fingers 2 inches into the soil and hold for 5 seconds. If it feels uncomfortably cold, wait. Give it another week. Planting too early in cold soil is one of the most expensive mistakes you can make. You lose the whole head start you were trying to get. Third mistake, and this one burns people every year literally, dry soil and fertilizer is a bad combination. Without moisture to carry nutrients down to the roots, you get concentration spots. Basically, chemical burns on the root tips before the plant even gets started. The rule is simple: water first, always. Soak the hole before anything goes in. Let it drain. Then add your ingredients. Water is the delivery system. Without it, you're just leaving expensive stuff in the dirt. All right, soil is warm. Hole is wet. Miracle-Gro is back on the shelf. Now let me show you exactly what goes in instead and why each one of these 3 ingredients does something the others can't. 3 ingredients, that's all this takes. Bone meal, Epsom salt, and Tums, yes, the antacid from the pharmacy aisle. Total cost under $5. Enough for 12 plants. First, bone meal. This is the most important one, and the one most gardeners have never tried. Bone meal is packed with phosphorus and calcium. Phosphorus is what drives root development in those first critical weeks after planting. Without a strong root system in April, the plant has no engine. It can't pull in water or nutrients no matter how rich the soil is. 2 tablespoons go into the bottom of the hole, not mixed into the soil around it, directly at the bottom. That's where the roots reach first. You want them to hit it immediately. 1 bag runs about $8 and covers the entire season. That's less than a single tomato at the grocery store right now. Second, Epsom salt. Most people have heard of this one. Almost nobody uses it at the right time. Epsom salt is magnesium sulfate. Magnesium powers photosynthesis. It's the engine inside every green cell of the plant. When magnesium runs low, leaves start yellowing between the veins, while the veins themselves stay green. A lot of gardeners blame overwatering or disease. It's almost never that. It's magnesium. 1 tablespoon in the hole alongside the bone meal. That's the whole move. A bag costs $1.50 at any pharmacy. Most people already have it at home. Third, and this is the one that surprises people every time, Tums, the antacid. Tums are almost pure calcium carbonate, and calcium, as we talked about earlier, is exactly what prevents blossom end rot, that black rotting spot that shows up right when tomatoes are almost ready to pick. Crush 2 tablets, drop them in the hole with the other 2 ingredients. That's it. No mixing, no dissolving, no special tools. A pack of Tums is about $3. 1 pack does an entire garden bed, and it works faster than calcium sprays because it goes straight to the root zone from day 1. 3 ingredients: 2 tablespoons of bone meal, 1 tablespoon of Epsom salt, 2 crushed Tums. All go in the hole before the plant. Now, a lot of people are going to say this in the comments. I've been using something else for years and it works fine. Let's talk about that, because some of those things actually do work, and some of them quietly sabotage everything you just did. The most common one, crushed eggshells in the hole for calcium. Every gardening channel mentions this, and it sounds perfect. Free, natural, calcium rich. Here's the problem. Eggshells take 12 to 18 months to break down in soil. By the time your plant can actually absorb that calcium, this season is already over. So eggshells are not useless. They're just useless right now. Add them to your compost in fall. In April, in the planting hole, they do nothing. That's why Tums works better. Same calcium, but in carbonate form that breaks down in weeks, not months. Second myth, banana peels for potassium. Same problem, different ingredient. Banana peels are real food for soil, but they rot on their own timeline, not yours. Fresh banana peel in a planting hole in April can actually attract fungus gnats and create a rotting pocket right next to young roots. Again, great for compost. Wrong place, wrong time. If potassium is what you're after in April, a small amount of green sand or wood ash mixed into the backfill soil is what actually works at this stage. Third, and this one costs people the most, the idea that more fertilizer means more tomatoes. Too much nitrogen in April and the plant goes into overdrive, but only above ground. Giant leaves, thick stems, everything looks incredible. And then August comes and there's almost no fruit, because the plant spent all its energy building structure. It never got the signal to shift into reproduction mode and start setting fruit. The 3 ingredients in this video are specifically chosen because none of them push nitrogen. They build the foundation, roots, calcium, magnesium, and let the plant do the rest on its own timeline. One more, coffee grounds. This one is half true and half dangerous. Coffee grounds do add nitrogen and improve soil texture over time, but they're acidic, and in a planting hole in April, that acidity can shock roots. that are just getting established. If your soil pH is already on the lower side, and a lot of American gardens are, coffee grounds in the hole is the last thing you need. In the garden bed, as a top dressing, diluted, fine. Directly in the planting hole, skip it. So the planting hole is sorted. But there's one more thing that determines whether all of this actually works, and it happens in the 2 weeks after planting. Most people get the hole right and then undo it completely. Here's how not to do that. Here's something that took years to understand. The planting hole is the foundation, but the 2 weeks after planting, that's when the building either goes up or falls apart. Tomato roots go through what's called transplant shock. The plant was in a pot, in controlled conditions, and suddenly it's in open ground with temperature swings, wind, and competition from surrounding soil. Its entire energy for the first 14 days goes into one thing: establishing contact with the new soil and finding those nutrients you placed in the hole. If anything disrupts that process in this window, it doesn't matter what went in the hole. The window closes and you spend the rest of the season chasing a plant that never fully settled in. The first thing people do wrong after planting, they overwater. It feels caring. The plant just went through stress. It needs water, so more water must mean more help. That logic makes sense until you understand what's actually happening underground. Waterlogged soil pushes oxygen out of the root zone, and roots need oxygen just as much as they need moisture. Without it, they can't absorb nutrients, including everything that went into the planting hole. The bone meal, the Epsom salt, the Tums, all of it sits there inaccessible because the roots are essentially drowning. Worse than that, consistently wet soil in April, when temperatures are still fluctuating at night, creates the exact conditions that root rot fungi love. Pythium, fusarium. These are soil-borne pathogens that are always present and just waiting for wet, cold conditions to activate. The right approach is deep and infrequent. One good soak right at planting, then nothing for 3 to 4 days unless there's been no rain at all, and the top 2 inches of soil are completely dry. Push a finger 2 inches into the soil. If it still feels moist, wait, the plant is fine. It's reaching for what's already in the hole. A wilting plant in the afternoon on a warm April day is not a thirsty plant. It's a plant dealing with transplant stress and temporarily closing its stomater to conserve water. Check again in the morning. If it's recovered, do not water. Second danger, reaching for fertilizer too soon after planting. This is understandable. The plant looks a little sad for the first week. Leaves aren't perky. Growth seems slow. The instinct is to give it something extra. Don't. For the first 10 to 14 days, the root system is not in growth mode. It's in repair mode. The root tips that were damaged during transplanting are healing. Any concentrated fertilizer applied during this period, liquid or granular, lands on compromised root tissue and causes chemical burn. You'll see it as sudden yellowing or leaf curl about 5 days later and wonder what went wrong. And the nutrients in the planting hole are designed to be slow release and gentle, exactly right for this stage. Bone meal doesn't spike, Epsom salt doesn't burn, crushed Tums don't overwhelm. They sit there and become available gradually as roots reach them and soil. Biology activates around them. Wait at least 2 weeks before any additional feeding. The signal that the plant is ready is new growth, a fresh set of leaves emerging from the top. That's the plant saying, roots are established. I'm back in business. Now I can eat. Third, mulching too close to the stem. Mulch is one of the best things you can do for tomatoes in April. It holds moisture, regulates soil temperature, and slows weed competition. A 2 to 3 inch layer around the plant is genuinely one of the highest value moves of the season. But if that mulch touches the stem, or worse, piles up against it, it creates a permanently moist collar around the base of the plant. That moisture against the stem is a direct invitation for stem rot and soil-borne fungal disease. The same pathogens that attack roots will work their way up a wet stem in April's variable temperatures. Leave a 2-inch gap, a clear ring of bare soil, between the mulch and the stem. The mulch does its job from a distance. The stem stays dry and airborne. That gap looks small, but it makes the difference between a plant that thrives all season and one that mysteriously collapses in June with no obvious cause. Straw, wood chips, shredded leaves, all work. Just keep it off the stem. One more thing. Because April looks very different depending on where you garden. If you're in zone 5 or 6 and nights are still dropping below 45 degrees Fahrenheit, don't rush the planting. Everything in this video works, but it only works when the soil is ready. A tomato planted in cold soil in a hurry will be overtaken in 3 weeks by a tomato planted 2 weeks later in warm soil. Patience in cold climates is not passive, it's strategic. If you're in zones 8, 9, or 10, southern states, California, Texas, your April window is actually closing, not opening. By mid-April in those zones, the soil is already warm enough and temperatures are climbing fast. You want to get these plants in the ground now in the first 2 weeks of April before summer heat sets in and stresses young transplants before they're established. Check your zone. The USDA Plant Hardiness Zone map is free online and takes 30 seconds to look up your zip code. Everything else in this video applies equally. Just time it to your zone, not to the calendar date. That's the full system. Whole ingredients, first 2 weeks, common traps, all of it. Let's close with the exact 3-step sequence. So when you walk out to the garden this weekend, there's no guessing and nothing left out. All right, let's lock this in. Step 1, check your soil temperature. 2 fingers, 2 inches down, 5 seconds. If it feels cold, wait. If it feels cool but not cold, you're ready. Step 2, soak the hole first. Always water before anything goes in. Let it drain completely. Step 3, add the 3 ingredients to the bottom of the hole: 2 tablespoons of bone meal, 1 tablespoon of Epsom salt, 2 Tums, crushed, in that order at the bottom before the plant goes in, then plant normally. Backfill the soil. Water once more, gently, not a flood. Mulch around the base with a 2-inch gap from the stem, and then leave it alone for 2 weeks. No fertilizer, no digging around it. No extra watering unless the soil is bone dry. Let the root system find what you left for it. Here's what to expect. Days 1 through 5, the plant may look slightly droopy. That's normal. That's transplant shock resolving itself. Don't touch it. Days 6 through 10, you'll notice the plant start to straighten and firm up. The stem gets more rigid. Leaves start to face the sun more directly instead of hanging down. Days 11 through 14, new growth appears at the top. A fresh set of leaves, that's your signal. The root system is established. The plant found the bone meal, the magnesium, the calcium. It's ready for what comes next. By mid-July, if April was done right, you're not hoping for tomatoes. You're figuring out what to do with all of them. One thing before you go, drop a comment below. Just 1 word or 2. What's your zone? And what do you grow the most of every season? I read every single one. And the reason I'm asking is that the next few videos are going to be built around what you're actually dealing with in your garden, not what I assume you need. Zone 5. Problems are not Zone 9 problems. What's working in Georgia might be completely wrong for Ohio, so tell me where you are and what you're growing, and that's what we'll cover next. If this was useful, subscribe. Not because I'm asking, but because every week through the growing season, there's going to be one video, one specific topic, one thing that makes a real difference in how your garden produces. No filler, no 10-minute intros. Just the thing that matters, when it matters. Next week, what to do the moment you see your first flowers on the tomato plant, because that's the second window most people miss completely, and it's just as important as today.